Hey everyone, Kamina the coach here, and I am this is probably not going to be my best video ever because I really only have 10 minutes and I don't like to be rushed at all. So this is going to be a rushed video and it's something important, so I probably shouldn't be doing it right now. But the thing is if I don't, I'll forget. I'll forget. So I'm going to offer you a tool for your toolbox for anger. Dun, dun, dun. So, I will tell you a secret. I have historically been an angry person, and that is since I was like really, 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 really small. I can remember my adoptive mother asking me at a very young age why I was so angry. And it is unfortunate that as an adoptee that was adopted at birth, that it's most likely to do with that primal wound, that original wound, that first wound when they took me away from my mother, whom I needed really badly at birth, who I needed to connect with. So, well, that's done, and there's nothing I can do about it. And it is unfortunate that that wound expresses itself in grief in my life, and one of the ways that I grieve is anger. And to know me, if you know me well, you know I have it, but if you just know me surfacey, you would never guess. So probably from watching the channel, you probably don't know that about me. So so I'd like to recommend, if you are adopted, if you are a natural birth or birth mother, or if you are an adoptive parent, or if you're considering adopting or giving your child up for adoption or getting involved with anything to do with adoption, I recommend the podcast Adoptees On. So that's where I got the information that I'm about to give. She had a whole section on mental health where she actually brought on therapists who were adoptees themselves. So they have a unique internal perspective on adoption for adoptees, and that's amazing. So the woman who spoke about this, she wasn't speaking about anger. She was talking about holding a grudge and holding a grievance. And a lot of us, and I actually heard an adoptee say, I don't know who I am without this, and he didn't call it a grievance, but without this badge, that I'm an angry adoptee or whatever. That's not exactly what he said, but who am I past that? And it scared him. Now at 42, it makes me excited. Who am I past this mad, sad, angry adoptee child? I hold her often, by the way. So I would just like to share, kind of two. You really need one to have the other, but kind of two techniques to manage anger that this therapist in this show on grievances discussed. So first of all, you don't have to be adopted to have a grievance, and this is something underlying that kind of follows you along. So how do you know if you have a grievance? So if you hear somebody speak about something painful, if the first thing you think is, well, I don't know anything about my pain, or that's nothing compared to my story, if that's the first thing that comes to your mind, whether it comes out of your mouth or it stays in your mind, you likely have a grievance that you're holding on to. And you probably are also likely an angry person. Whether people outside of you know it or not, you are internally hurting. And it's just as damaging. It's actually quite a bit more damaging to you than it is to anyone else. I've always held to, it's kind of cliche, but it's real. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the person that you're mad at to die. You're killing yourself, essentially, really killing yourself. I firmly believe that my grievances have triggered my genetics to trigger all the things physically that I have wrong with me, the anger and that I've held on to, that I'm justified to. I'm justified in feeling angry. But again, I'm not hurting them. They don't even know me. Or, or my adoptive family, they're not thinking about me. I'm not hurting them. I'm hurting only myself. So, first thing is, your body is going to tell you that you're feeling anger before your brain even processes it. So it is really, really important, and I've actually said this before, it's really important to pay attention to where in your body you experience emotions, not just bad emotions. Get into the habit of paying attention to your body, doing a body scan when you wake up in the morning. If somebody makes you feel really happy, that's a great time to do a body scan, because you're likely a lot more calm than you would be if you were angry or sad. But I know myself, when I'm angry, it manifests itself in it's pretty much the same way that I do for fear, and I don't mean just fear. I mean fear, like extreme fear of death. So kind of right here, my throat gets really tight, and my face kind of flushes and gets hot. So I'm very aware of where I carry my where my anger presents itself in my body. Once I find where the anger is at, I don't try to push it out. I actually go into what I'm thinking about to go ahead and give myself permission to feel that anger. And it's almost scary. It's a very intense feeling. Then I breathe into that space. I breathe into that space and allow it to pass through. So the next technique is the new one for me, and she was talking about feeling soft. So I'm going to give you one more after this. She's talking about feeling soft. And so we carry anger and tension a lot in our shoulders, in our bellies, here, in these muscles in our jaws. I know for me, when I'm meditating, I always make sure to kind of rest my mouth open, because I carry a lot of tension here. Also, I make sure to really loosen up my shoulders, because angry people tend to, and we really carry it in our gut as well. So a lot of times, you're triggering situations. A situation that is potentially going to make you angry. So going into that situation, you need to consciously make an effort to unclench that jaw. Unclench that jaw and loosen going into the situation. So if you don't like your boss and your boss has called you to talk to them, if your kids piss you off every time you go home, so going into the situation that you think is going to trigger your anger, just mindfully making a choice to relieve the tension out of those places. That way you're not bringing anger and that anticipation of anger into the moment. It sounds really simple, but it has been really phenomenal. It works for me. It's been working for all negative emotions. And I guess that a lot of my negative emotions stem from that anger. Because again, that's kind of an original trait for me from when I was really small, my anger. I'd like to give you one more that I've been using, because it's been really, the effects have been really phenomenal. Whatever the action was that caused you grievance, it must be from someone that's important, or maybe it's not. Your body and your brain don't really know what's real and what's not. So when you imagine things and see things the way that you wanted it to go, your body and your brain believe that that's real. So who cares if the situation is actually real or not? Imagine it the way that you want it to go. So when I was very small, I had very severe separation anxiety and abandonment issues from being discarded by two mothers. So my mother left while I was asleep. My adoptive mother, I was taking a nap, and she left while I was asleep to go to school at night. And when I woke up, I was so devastated. I cried until I made myself sick, and I was throwing up. And my dad was there. My adoptive dad was there with me, but that wasn't really who I wanted. I wanted my adoptive mother, and I cried until I threw up. when she came home, she was like, she didn't believe I was sick, and she was calling me a hypochondriac, and it was just mean. And remembering it makes me sad, which then initially sad, then it makes me angry. So when I remember it now, like if I'm feeling ill or something, specifically actually what I've been remembering, I'll go to that afterwards. But when I remember that moment, instead of painting it like it actually went in my brain, which probably is not exactly how it went because I was a child, so I'm probably making it worse. I actually remember it as my mother came home and scooped me up in her arms and patted my back and told me it was okay, and told my adoptive father, he did the best he could. And it was just really beautiful the way that I paint it, and it makes me feel good. And you're like, I'm not gonna lie to myself. Why? Because right now what you're doing is really hurting you. So what I've actually been thinking about, no, I didn't have any family when I graduated college, which was a really big time for me. I was summa cum laude, and I hadn't graduated high school, so it was really important. When I graduated from basic training, and when I graduated college, there was nobody from my adopted family there to celebrate with me. So I imagine what it would have been like to have them there, and walking past my adoptive mother and handing her a rose and having them crying. It feels really good. So try remembering or remembering anew your grievance in the way that you would have liked it to have gone. And that's just kind of a way to help you learn to release that, and to just let it go. Because to say to somebody to just let it go, we all know that's easier said than done, right? So I hope that I've given you some new tools for your toolbox, some things to think about with anger and grievances. This doesn't have to be your story forever. I know it's not going to be my story forever. I'm ready to let it go. I'm so ready. So feeling a lot better actually after doing these techniques. I am feeling a lot more whole and healthy. So Kamina the coach, until next time, sending you light, love, peace, and joy. I'll see you next time, okay? Peace.